Morning, everybody, and thank you for joining our seminar this morning. So we've got a panel of real industry experts here that have given some time to talk to us. It's really appreciated, guys. I'll get you to introduce yourself in a moment. The subject of this session is around, principally the title was around automation, the move to cloud, and basically technology going forward within the recruitment sector. I've got a first question though that I will get into first quite early on, which is COVID related. We can't ignore COVID right now. 12 months ago, we were thinking about Brexit as our thing we had to think about. 12 months ago, thinking about COVID. So I think it's almost the same amount of lessons, a completely different problem. And we've still got Brexit as well to deal with over the next few months. To the audience, can I ask you that you can ask any questions you want? It's not often you get a panel like this together of industry experts. So if you ask questions, I will pick out the relevant ones and ask those to the team. But what I will get the team to do now is just to run around and give themselves a quick introduction of who they are, and then we'll get into some of the question and some of the debate. But this morning is about almost a discussion between colleagues and friends, because I've known these guys for a long time, and I really do appreciate their time today. So good chat and cover some good topics. Jamie, can I start with you to do an intro?
Yeah, thank you, Jason. My name is Jamie Bushell. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for CPL UK, and we cover healthcare, technology and life sciences businesses. Been in and around the recruitment industry for about 15 years now. Yeah.
Good, thanks, Jamie. Andrew?
Hi, I'm Andrew Wayland. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Alexander Mann Solutions. We're one of the world leading RPO providers. I lead the technology team that underpins all of our client solutions globally, and also the efforts on automation and artificial intelligence. Previously, I worked in the recruitment industry for Michael Page as CIO and Hudson, and before that, PwC for 10 years.
It's quite a CV. So I'm just following around. Tim, can I pick up with you next?
Yes, I'm Tim Stars. I'm the Group CIO for Engage. We've got about 20 recruitment brands, UK, US and Europe. And before that, I was 5 years at Matrix as CTO, and 5 years at Commensura before that. Been around recruitment for a long time.
So that's kind of managed services into recruitment. There's a whole difference in supply chain there, so that's really good. And just following across on my screen, Jeanette, come to you next.
Yeah, I'm Jeanette Barracliff. I'm the Finance Director for Meridian Business Support. Meridian is one of the largest privately owned agencies in the UK, and we cover 4 main sectors: built environment, health, industrial and office and professional.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jeanette. And lastly, but definitely not least, from Dublin, Keith.
Yeah, my name is Keith O'Connor. I'm the IT Director for CPL. I've been with the group now for about just over 16 years. CPL is Ireland's largest recruitment company, and we have quite a substantial footprint in the UK now as well. We at the moment we have about 36 offices in 9 different countries, and about 1,400 direct staff working for us, such as myself and other people directly employed by CPL.
Brilliant, thanks, Keith. CPL is also one of the most exciting recruitment businesses, I think, in the marketplace, and it's just double-digit growth, just keeps doing amazing things. So great to have you on board as well. Brilliant. Okay, so as I said earlier on, guys, let me just introduce myself for people that don't know me. So Jason Martin from the Access Group, worked in the recruitment technology sector for probably 15, 16 years. So get involved in looking after some of our major accounts and also the product strategy in our business. And I work with all these guys quite regularly, which is why it's great to have this session. So ask any questions, audience, as we go through. But the first question for this session, as I said, COVID related. On from COVID, which I'm going to just put a start in March for us. Might have started last year for all we know, but no one told us. How has that made you revisit your operational technology or location strategy as well? And if it has made you do that, how have you revisited these things? Tim, you were going to kick us off on this one.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think some of the certainties that we believed about the traditional temp and perm recruitment business were upended almost overnight. The idea that recruiters came into offices, sat at the same desk every day, and that was something that was going to be very difficult to change, changed overnight. We've got 800 thin client devices and 800 desk phones, pretty much gathering dust in locations all around the country, and we've had to change that very quickly. I think the centralized compute was very important, whether that was pure cloud or hybrid cloud, but the ability to be able to access systems remotely became absolutely the most important piece of the day. But the things we were concerned about, I think, remained the same, and security is one of those. Certainly requiring two-factor authentication, knowing who was connecting, where they were connecting from, and what that endpoint was, became incredibly important. Again, for us, moving from a very homogeneous set of endpoints to almost every type of endpoint you can imagine being used to connect to the systems became a clear piece. And I think it's allowed us to advance much quicker than we might have done otherwise, that actually we haven't had to go through a 2 or 3 year process of changing our location strategy, our opportunities for different types of working. It's actually happened very quickly, and now we can look at how we can take advantage of those changes.
Tim, do you reckon you would have made those changes if it wasn't for COVID?
I think it would have been much slower. There certainly was a view within the business that we needed to look at change, but it's very difficult. We have 300 or 400 seats in central London. That is going to change very dramatically moving forward. There will still be a presence there, but not in the same way that it was. And I think we've been able to move some of those business leaders who perhaps struggled to envision a different type of working. They've actually seen that happening. Data analytics and being able to prove that productivity hasn't suffered have been incredibly important as well.
Tim, I can echo a lot of that. We've got nearly 5,000 people spread around 30 countries around the world, but a lot of them are embedded at client sites using Client Kit. And we went from, over 2 weeks, we went from everybody working at a client site on Client Kit to working from home, potentially on their own kit. And all of the security models that we had to go through and getting them all approved with clients. And it was an amazing, it was like suddenly using your own DR plan as your business plan, and all of the things that you previously had as backup, you're now using. But it worked brilliantly. We did a lot of stuff to tighten all of that up, so it's all nice and tight and secure. And people have settled into that. I'm also amazed at how people have then used that to reach out and be social and interact. They've learned how video now is part of every kind of discussion. Every so often, I think people turn them off because they're a bit jaded, but it is amazing. It's also very annoying when your friends and family want to talk to you in the evening on Zoom, because there's just no way I'm going to do that. The other thing, Tim, you mentioned there about analytics and data, which is an amazing thing to me. When I think back, I've been asked for reports or applications to be built, and you'd think, yeah, that's a kind of 2 to 3 month thing that I'm going to build. And now the conversation is, could you do it in 48 hours or quicker? And you have something up and running that then you iterate very, very quickly on. So there's this kind of new agile where you sit the developer with the end user, build the thing, it's up and running and testing, and then you refine it over several days. And that's been actually really exciting. And I want to do more of that, because I felt like technology has been able to add a lot more value a lot more quickly, and less seen as a money pit and more of an enabler.
We were lucky enough in CPL that we had actually started quite a big project around remote access and working from home and moving people from one system to another, probably 6 months, if not a year, before COVID actually became something we talked about on a daily basis. So like your story, Tim and Andrew, when we went to working at home overnight on the 12th of March, and we were very lucky insofar as things were very, very smooth. I think Jamie can probably attest to that, working for CPL as well. It did work, but it also enabled us, as you said, to move users onto new technology platforms that traditionally they might have been a little bit hesitant. So, like you said, Andrew, the likes of this video calls and stuff is something that, I don't know why, but our guys never really fully embraced it. Some of them did, but the vast majority didn't. But then, as you said, going from home, working at home on the Monday morning, different technology tools using webcams and stuff became the norm. And now, as you said, it is the norm. We don't even think about it anymore. You're definitely right. Getting people to turn webcams on is a challenge sometimes, but they've definitely got used to working in this new environment, which was so definitely able to move that particular project along quite quickly.
Yeah, we had exactly the same. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think people generally resist change, but with COVID, it became a necessity. So overnight, people kind of, if they didn't embrace the technology and the video chats and video interviewing and things like that, then they just couldn't do the job. So, you know, very similar to you, Tim, we've got, I don't know how many thin clients sat around the UK gathering dust, and we need to relook at that strategy, but we managed to get everybody working from home pretty quickly and keep the business going, which was the most important thing. And yeah, people have embraced it. I do wonder whether it's going to become a long-term change. I do wonder whether when we're able to go back into branches properly and back into offices, whether people will continue to use some of the technology they're using now, or whether they're just going to revert back to type and say, well, that's how it used to be, I'm going to go back to that. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Whether you get any...
One of the challenges that I can see at the moment is that we might struggle to deliver some of the applications in the office environment. So as you say, we've got everybody on Zoom calls, team calls, etc. Actually, if they all turn up at the office and want to use all those technologies, I'll actually suffer the struggle to deliver that in some locations.
I think we were quite lucky. I second what Keith said. We were quite resilient before COVID started from hardware and the software perspective. So for us, you know, we're slightly our sort of head office where we're based is slightly out of town, so there wasn't a big commuting risk. A lot of our guys and girls will just walk to work or drive to work, and you know, I think the combination of that and the hardware and the software that was already in place, for us, we just locked the door and let everyone carry on. It wasn't too horrific, and the infrastructure was there for us. It's
interesting comment you made there, Andrew, that the DR plan has now become the new business as usual plan, and I just wonder what the DR plan is now because farmer you can go.
That's a really good question.
But it's funny, isn't it? Across the whole world, we've seen vaccines that should take 20 years are going to appear hopefully within a year and a half. And you guys are talking about stuff that would take 2 months is now happening in 48 hours. I think there's just been a revisiting of everything, and we've just removed barriers that were traditionally in the way and just questioned them and just got rid of them.
I think, yeah, I agree, Jason. I think for us, and I'm sure for everyone else, it focused the mind on what was important. So one of the first things we did was look at what were our critical processes, and could those critical processes be carried out remotely, which all of them could be, and everything else then is just peripheral. It's just a nicety. So long as we could get people up and running at home, which we could, and we did that within 24 hours pretty much, and we could get our temps paid, and we could get our clients invoiced, and we could get our cash collected. They were the main things, really, because if you don't pay your temps, you haven't really got a business, have you? So I think what it's done is that the pandemic has helped speed things up by focusing what's important rather than some of the job creation things that happen. You know, there's a lot of job creation goes on in businesses.
I think it probably exposed something that all of us have banged on about for a while as well, that actually the DR plan worked, but the business continuity, some of that actually needed some thinking about. And whereas we've pushed back to the business, I'm sure all of us saying it's not just about the technology systems working in a disaster, it's about how your business carries on, how you're going to interact with your people, communicate with them, manage them. Some of those things I think are still catching up with the change in COVID.
Yeah.
Tim, I think I agree with you on that. If you look at how we lead in this, how we lead in this pandemic, and how we lead our people, our teams, and then how our leaders lead their businesses. They need different kinds of technology, need to be able to feel engaged and in touch with and understand, and also be able to drive unprecedented levels of change that we would never dream of doing in such a short time. And they're using these tools, that we're looking at on the screen in order to make that happen. And it's probably one of the biggest leadership challenges that we'll face in our careers. And it's been, actually from a personal perspective, really quite a privilege to see some people really step up and see the qualities come through and allowing them to drive the things that we need to do via technology and remain emotionally engaged and reach out to people. And at the same time, on a one-to-one level, you've still got to do that coaching, supporting, mentoring, checking in with people, making sure they're okay. All of this, we're talking about technology, but actually the humanity element has become more important on top of those really important processes, is actually being real with each other.
So obviously having a really important strategic software partner is also quite important to that whole process. I'm sure you'd all agree. So just I guess just a final point on this subject area, and you can just quick short answers, but do you see you addressing your physical locations and reducing those? Or Jeanette, you have a lot of high street type branches. I suspect CPL has some as well. Is that state going to reduce?
I think for us, we're always reviewing our locations and whether they're working for us. It comes down to people, doesn't it? The branches isn't just the bricks and mortar and the location, it's the actual people in there. And I think the work from home, work from the office is a really interesting debate. We launched a work from anywhere strategy to try and give people a choice. And I think when it levels out, we'll end up with a hybrid of part-time in the office and part-time, or in branch and part-time at home. Because, coming back to what Andrew was talking about with the emotional bit, we're social animals and we need to socialise with people. So if we close our branches, where are those individuals going to go? Because, our people are great people and we wouldn't want to lose them. So it might, even if they're working from home 3 or 4 days a week, they still need somewhere to go to. And that could be a creative place, couldn't it? It could be a bar on a Friday night when they can open past 10 o'clock, or it could be a Regis office, or it could be one of our branches. So I think it's really easy. It was really interesting at the beginning of the COVID breakout, where everyone talked around, I wouldn't want to be a landlord, we're going to get rid of our offices, and that now seems to have settled down a little bit, with people saying I can't wait to get back to the office because I want to see people. So I think even if you have a situation where people go into a branch 2 or 3 days a week, you've still got to have a location. But no, I come back to your question, our locations are always under review. If they're not working for us, then we look at why. We're not just going to close a location because of COVID or because technology's improved.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. Keith, I'm going to come to you with a question now, and I didn't prompt you for this one, so you have to think fast on your feet. So subject to this session really is about automation, move to cloud, that sort of stuff. So people talk a lot about automation. I know 2 of you will have particular, you've done quite a lot of it in the past few years, but people talk a lot about automation, artificial intelligence. Do you have any particular take on the importance of this in the future of recruitment and modern recruitment companies?
That's to me, Jason. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about AI and CPL now for a long time and looking at different tools and different technologies. So I think it has a real part to play in how we engage with our clients and how we engage with our candidates and the way they interact with us, whether that's through our websites or whether that's through yourselves or through other partners. I think it's going to have a huge impact across the entire recruitment industry. The same with automation as well. You know, I know we're talking to the Access Group at the moment about automation, and we are looking at other technologies in that space as well. I know Jamie's doing some stuff on the automation elements as well, and we actually have steering committees and governance groups and that kind of stuff internally as well, which are very much focused on the whole automation element. So it's definitely going to play a part for us in the future. It is quite a big project, and it is one that's probably dropped down a little bit just because of the COVID impact and having to maintain business as usual, but it's definitely picked up pace again for us in the past 6 weeks or so.
Just to comment on that, yeah. In terms of our activity has massively spiked in terms of automation during COVID. I think we've seen an opportunity to really embed faster the technologies through. So I'm responsible for a range of robotic processes that we embed in our client solutions, and now they are default. They're in every single solution that we deploy out to clients. And then also we work with partners who also bring their own AI tools and solutions to the table as well. So I would say it's accelerated. We've seen lots of opportunities where maybe some of our clients have seen an opportunity to pause and rethink. They've taken on board our automation tools. And what I'd also say is we hear a lot about concerns that automation or robotics somehow are going to replace people in the workplace. I've got a completely different take on that, which is I think that, and I've seen this all the way through my career, right back to when I first started in IT, technology makes people do the things that they're best at and takes away the really boring parts of their job or the repetitive parts. So what we're doing is we're not building robots to replace people, we're building cyborgs. And any advice I would give to anyone starting in recruitment is, if a new technology comes along, learn it, be the best at it, learn how to do your job better with that technology, learn what's happening next, and what new technologies and opportunities are coming, and make that part of your key skill set, and you'll be absolutely fine. There's a war for talent still. Even when we come out of this, there's not enough people to do all the things we need to do. So then we all end up focusing on what's important, and we get to do the fun of building those things and helping people and surprising them. So it's a really fun job.
I think also that one of the things we've seen is the volume of transactions, the volume of data is increasing exponentially. It's so easy to actually turn up the wick on volume. The marketeers now can direct more traffic to your websites, your job posts, your social media than you can deal with using purely people. And I think the solutions you put in place don't necessarily have to be incredibly complex and expensive. I think there's a whole range of pieces that you can do as recruiters to make sure that your business can provide a 24/7 response with relatively sensible activities. You can use automation throughout the process, and I think a lot of businesses went on the onshore to offshore journey, and I think that's now being complemented by an offshore to automation and looking at different parts of that process, particularly in the back office processes. People, as Andrew said, need to do the things where they add value, and sitting there typing out text messages or emails, actually we can do that at a speed, at a velocity, at an accuracy, and at a cost that they just can't do. They need to do the things where they add value.
I think for me, we're a people business, and we deal with candidates and clients, and whatever the current medium is for getting in touch with these guys, those touch points with the candidates and clients are the most important bits. So if we can embrace technology, which is a big passionate thing for me, is get the robots doing the heavy lifting. They're not going to be picking up the phone, engaging with your clients and your candidates. They're not going to be collecting cash for you. They're not going to be making placements. They're not going to be making, relationship and sensible based judgments on whether you're the right fit, the right mentality. There is a real big human aspect. So it's not a replacement of humans. It is, if you said to any salesperson, that 30%, 40% of your week that you spend doing admin, would you like that reduced down to 10% so you can spend more time on your phone with the clients? They'd bite your arm off. And it doesn't mean that recruiters being replaced. And it's the same with credit control. Would you like to spend more time collecting cash, or would you like to be shuffling paper around?
Yeah.
They all say the same thing. Get some robots in, do all the factory process heavy lifting for them, so they can crack on and do what they like. Win-win.
I think one of the challenges is that there's two challenges for me. One is there's so much technology out there, and it's knowing which one to go with. So I think you've got to be really focused as a business to know that's what you want to do. And the other one is having someone really passionate in the business around technology, because generally people are fearful because they think you're absolutely right, Jamie, it's doing the heavy lifting and what Tim and Andrew have said. But there's a fear factor, isn't there, of if they technologise the process, they don't need me. So I think you need someone in the business who's really passionate about technology, who can drive that forward, as well as knowing exactly what it is you want to do, because there's so much information out there. In some respects, it's too much. It's a bit like when you go to a restaurant now, isn't it? And you've got 30 different things you can choose from, and really you just want a selection of 5 because it's easier. And it's a bit like with technology, it's knowing which route to go down, which partner to choose, which piece of technology to use, and then to actually follow it through, and not to be fearful of it's going to change in 5 months' time, but you've made this massive investment. But then bringing the people in the business along to embed that technology, because there's nothing worse from my position of paying for a piece of technology. You can see how it's going to work, you can see how it's going to benefit people, and then they don't use it because they've not bought into it, or they're fearful it's going to take their job away. So they kind of, we brought interviewing platform in 12 months ago, video interviewing, hardly any take up. With COVID, we've had more take up, but we've still got some people are resisting it, and it's really interesting to see how that's manifesting its way through now. So I think there's some great technology out there, but it's just knowing which one to go with and then getting it in.
I agree with you, Jeanette, completely. It's really hard to pick which tool or which claim. Hey, Jason, put your fingers in your ears. You have to get through all the sales talk and understand what the real product does. You have to test it. And we are in that next level down. Many salespeople probably come and talk to you guys, and they'll make some quotes and claims, and it's very important to unpick those and then actually test them and pilot. And piloting costs money as well, so you've got to make sure you've got a good way of choosing which things you're going to take forward and you're going to pilot with. So there's a lot of interesting AI type tools that have big claims. You hear the 20, 30, 40%. Really unpick that and find out, what does that really mean? What are you actually saying, and can we prove that? So it's a really difficult time at the moment with so many different technologies to choose and different claims.
Yeah. Brilliant, great, thank you guys. So up to now we've got the 2 questions. We've got DR is a new BAU, basically. We've got cyborgs running around the marketplace now as well. I didn't realise. So that's exciting to know. And I generally give you just good advice. I don't try and sell to you, just to be clear.
Did we say that, Jason?
One thing Access has certainly noticed, though, we've got a lot of customers. We've got over 36,000 customers now in our business. A lot of customers, a lot of different platforms. Base tech, a lot of on-site tech as well. We have definitely seen a pickup in the past 6 months of people trying to move to cloud. Because when you think about sort of thing you were talking about, of having to quickly, within 48 hours, mobilize a workforce that can work from the lounge, your average client server on-site technology doesn't really help that much. Have you seen that? Is that part of your strategy, is to move everything just site into cloud data centers?
Yeah, we've got, I suppose, a hybrid model where some of our products are already in the cloud, and we use thin terminals, so a Citrix environment with VPN. So COVID, we just needed to get some more remote access for people through a VPN network. But I think we're in the process of implementing Access CRM, which will be in the cloud. We have a strategy of getting everything into the cloud. It'll probably initially it was probably going to take us 2 or 3 years. Now we're talking about it taking us 12 months because we just need to speed it up. Because although we've got everyone working from home, it's not ideal. And we still got the issue of some applications sitting on a server somewhere that we've got to pay to be maintained, even if it's a virtual server. So I think that the challenge for us in the cloud is the security, which I think was mentioned earlier on, and making sure the data is going to be secure because it's still our data, and we don't want data breaches. But yeah, we've speeding up the process of getting everything into the cloud because we can see that the environment's changing. People are going to want to work from wherever. We want people to be able to go onto a client site and log onto the system and see how they can help the client better.
Yeah.
And we can only do that if we've got mobile technology. And the environment we've got at the moment doesn't really allow us to easily do mobile technology for people.
Yeah, we're the same, as you know, Jason. We just completed a rather large project with the Access Group. So using Tempest and the Pay and Bill product from Access for us. We've been using those for many years, but they've been on servers on premise in a data center, pretty much like I'm sure everybody else has. And we definitely have a cloud first strategy. So we've been working on that. Now, that project actually kicked off a couple of months before COVID became an issue for us. And interestingly, we were actually moving our 2 most important systems into the cloud while COVID was hitting at the same time. So we decided to continue. We could have easily stopped that project and said, no, we're going to wait. But we worked with Jason and the team, and we kept the project going. And in conjunction with the rest of the team in CPL, that project went really, really well. But it definitely has, it definitely has helped our situation in terms of the guys working from home. Like, we're running large payrolls every single week, and touch wood, I'm probably going to jinx it out this week, but touch wood, so far we've had 0 problems in terms. We've always got the payroll done on time. It's a lot faster now than it was, and the whole experience, both for our end users and our clients and our own internal staff, has been vastly improved. So I think in terms of cloud first, it's something where we've been pursuing for a long time, and we're still going to pursue. And my aim is to try and get as much, if not all, of the kit out of the data center probably by the mid 2021, and have everything in some form of cloud fashion.
Yeah,
I would echo that. So I'd like to take a slightly different tack in saying that I think COVID has taught us that you have to watch what's in your supply chain. So who is hosting your data? Where is it actually sitting? We've got a blended platform where we have a lot on Azure, which is Microsoft platform, and we have some on AWS as well. That's deliberate blend so that we can switch between the two and we can drive commodity prices. But we need to know where those are. We need to know, because we have to go and say to our clients it's hosted in Europe or it's hosted in America, and just make sure that it fits in with their criteria. We have to penetration test it on a regular basis to make sure that it's secure and that where our applications are hosted is safe. But then we have to know what happens if there is some kind of incident like we've experienced and a provider goes down. And luckily, we've not really had anything like that, but you need to know who's in your supply chain. So we have very careful processes to vet anyone that we would take on as a cloud provider to make sure that if there's an issue, that we've got failover, we've got capability that will carry on supporting us through difficulties and make sure that our business is still up and running. And as you go more and more into cloud, it gets vastly more complicated. There's lots of handoffs and different people are hosting different aspects of the applications that you're running, and the resilience is outsourced to somebody else. The scalability is outsourced to somebody else. You need to unpick all of that and understand and manage that really, really carefully. So it's not just drifting into cloud, it's doing it in a very managed, deliberate way.
That's one of the issues we've had, Andrew, where we've kind of, I suppose, been baby steps into the cloud. I'm sure Jason will say that they can host everything and you'll be secure and you'll know what's going on, but the risk of that is having all your eggs in one basket. But the alternative, as you say, is having lots of people hand off to other people and not quite knowing where your data is. Sorry, Tim.
And I think we talked before about the fact that there was we used to have everybody in offices. We knew where they were. Recruitment is a high people turnover business, and with everybody having cloud access, those situations where somebody in a branch forgets to tell you for a month or so that somebody left is a problem. So security is a problem. The sort of technical news sites are filled with people who've moved everything to AWS or Microsoft or Google and have then suddenly had enormous costs because it's very, very easy to spin up capacity. And I think they're things to look at. And I woke up this morning to a news story that Microsoft had rolled out a new update to some of their servers that were causing authentication issues for Office 365 in some areas of the world. So I think everything that's been said, it's good, but eyes open, I think.
I think that's the other issue, isn't it? Once it goes in the cloud, you lose control of the versions that you're using because it just changes. And I think it's a cultural shift. I mean, we're going to have that when we move to Access CRM, because if Access want to change the CRM, then we're just going to have to, I guess, go with it, and that'll be a cultural shift internally for us.
About every 3 weeks,
it feels like that, Jason.
Keith?
There's also the people element as well, the loss of control, because I know myself being in CPL for a long time, you're very used to having a hands-on approach with the servers and the applications, and if something breaks, you know that Mary or Joe or whoever it is can fix the particular problem. Obviously, when you're moving into the Access group or anywhere else, you lose that control. And for us, while Azure and AWS, etc., are very good application and hosting platforms, you don't really have a person at the end of the phone to ring if something goes wrong, you know. And at least I know in this situation, I can always ring and I can shout at Jason, or I can ring somebody else in the Access group, and if we have a problem with a server or an application. So having that is quite reassuring. And I know I've nothing to do with our recent project, but I know I've called Jason on a Sunday morning not too long ago about something else altogether, and Jason very kindly answered me on the Sunday morning. And then the costs are also a big factor as well for CPL, because, like you said, we landed with quite large surprise bills, and it's something somebody's either inadvertently built a server slightly too large, which is run too high, or you have IOPS, which is running databases which are, because someone's ran a query which they're perfectly entitled to do, but your bill then escalates because of it. Those kind of costs are very difficult to manage, where it's much easier with a platform like Access and to control those costs.
Okay, thank you for that, guys. That's really, really useful, and some positive words about Access as well, which I also appreciate. But, what I'm going to do now is just ask you just to think a bit further forward for a couple of years. So how do you see the drivers for change in recruitment in, say, a couple of years' time, and how do you see you engaging with your workers effectively? It's going to be technology driven, these answers, I suspect, but what's going to change in the next few years? I
think it's going to become more self-service, isn't it? I kind of look at the travel industry, and have done for a while. And now you're used to, well, when you could book a flight, you put your own passport details in, and now you print your own boarding card, and that's kind of transitioned over a number of years. Recruitment's going exactly the same way. We're dealing with people, and I think there's an expectation or anticipation gap of, people want things 24/7, they want it instantaneous. And I think automation will help with that. We talked earlier on, someone mentioned about 24/7 access. And I just think it's going to become faster, and people are going to become more demanding, and they're going to want the quality of data to be better, and they're going to want to be more in control of their own data and their own, I suppose, lifestyle of when they work and how they work and where they work. I think it'll go more that way, and I think that's where automation will help.
Yeah, I think
I
the
absolutely
working at
agree
home,
with that. Sorry,
the working
Gary.
at home. Sorry, Jamie. The working at home and that we touched on earlier on as regards video calling and stuff like that. I mean, I think the days of people coming into physical offices for interviews and stuff are probably somewhat limited, and people want that flexibility to be able to do these interviews and the like at home. And whereas we were doing some of that, it wasn't overly prevalent. I think it's going to be way more prevalent now. People want to be able to do these type of things when it suits them. I think it will also extend the working day, so people will want to be doing the likes of this thing in the evening time. So if you're interviewing a candidate, he or she may not be available in the evening time. So the likes of video calling and this technology will facilitate that. And then I suppose that does open up another conversation about the work-life balance and how we manage that in terms of technology and so forth.
My point, I was just absolutely agreeing with Jeanette. I think self-service is going to be massive, and I think also it's that visibility piece as well. When you've got an app in your hands and you're a candidate and you're logging on, you know what information you've put into the system, the ability to see your history, to be able to track back from a bookings perspective of clients that you've worked in and pay rates that you've had, stuff you might sort of forget, but the ability to have that information from a candidate in their fingertips, updating their own passport details when they expire, your proof of address, all those bits and pieces. I think that's definitely part of the way forward. But what we don't want to do as part of that process is to lose that human touch. So there needs to be quite a balance being struck between us business people going, oh, look at the productivity and the efficiency and the cost saving, this is amazing, to actually going, all right, well, we're a bit more efficient and a bit more productive in this areas with self-service, but how can we best utilize the time saved from our frontline colleagues for not having to do that heavy lifting, to reinvest that back into the people that we're talking to, our clients and our customers. Yeah. So I think that's the balance point we've got to reach for me.
Mm-hmm. So I think, yes, self-service, mobile first, all the way. Every time, everything we're building, we have to build it for the mobile. That's got to be the best experience, a tablet or a phone. And I think continually with the business and relating to what you said, Jamie, that very often I find recruiters confuse customer service and customer centricity. And I think we need to continually make sure that we are doing things that are customer centric all the time, whether that's our clients, our candidates, other suppliers in our supply chain that we're part of. I think that's got to be a continual piece that we think about and review as we go through the process, and we don't just keep confusing those two things.
I echo, yeah, everything that Tim and Jeanette and Jamie have said. I think I pull out two things, which is a layer on top of everything, that mobile experience, as Tim said. You've got to make it really slick, easy to apply for a job, easy to go through the process, easy for the hiring manager at the other end to get the information on the candidate. And we've seen a lot of leaps forward on that. In fact, it's interesting when you're trying to drive efficiency, the best efficiency gains come where something is really good as a candidate or a hiring manager experience, where it really enables that. And those ones, when they're wedded together, you get this kind of uptake really quickly. And that's where we're pushing more and more of our efforts. But I think I'm really interested to see where all of this kind of pulls together, because what there is lots of different platforms, and we've all got an app and we've all got a little a tool, and it's interesting the strategy that Access has to pull together lots of different technologies for our benefit and to integrate those together. I know you guys have got different tools to do that. We're looking at how we can leverage that, but bringing those technologies together so it's a bit more seamless and it's not a hodgepodge or a patchwork of different technologies that don't quite work together. And I think more and more digital transformation for us is how we integrate together, how we get the data flowing between different systems and not having the kind of rekeying or challenges between systems out of sync. I know Access has helped us a long way in that.
I remember a conversation I had with Tim actually, and it was probably about 5 years ago. And I think you were telling me, Tim, that something like at that time, 70% plus of interactions you were getting hitting your website, because you can tell device type that hits your website, was via mobile.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you saying to me at the time, if whatever you're developing at the moment isn't mobile first, don't bother.
Yep.
And it's quite a clear message because basically you were saying if it's 70% now, that's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. It's got to all be driven by the mobile, and it's about putting those processes in the palm of the hand of the candidate and of the hiring manager ultimately, which then feed into your process.
It's making it easy, isn't it? Like Andrew said, you know yourself, if something's difficult to do, you might attempt to do it and then you stop. And if and the kids nowadays coming out of school, they're used to just swiping on the phone or a couple of clicks and they've got what they want. You know, you can go onto Amazon and you can buy something within 2 clicks. You know, it's got to be that simple, because if it's not for the hiring managers and the clients and the candidates, then they're going to switch off and it'll be a complete waste of money.
Yeah.
So it's simplicity all the way, I think.
And they also don't use these things called mobile phones as mobile phones. They actually use the phone element. Whenever I say to my son, phone Dave, he's like, why would I phone him? I'm just
I know, it drives me mad. It's all instant messaging, isn't it? It's all, they want everything yesterday.
Yeah.
You know,
conversely, you have to react to that as a supplier of recruitment. That's how you have to engage with these people. So which
comes down to the technology, isn't it? But it also comes, I think going back to the conversation earlier on, the technology needs to support the people, because we're still a people business. Yeah. And, I'm really concerned around the mental well-being of people, because I think, when you look at social media now, there's a lot of kids, younger people who have got mental health issues. And a lot of it's because they're on social media and they're not getting the instant gratification that they're demanding. So it's the same with jobs. You go down the job board route. My son's 16 and he's looking for a part-time job. He's applying left, right and centre, and there's a fraction of people that are actually coming back to him and saying, you've not been successful, or you have been, we want to get through to the next stage. The vast majority of people, and it's a dead simple thing to do, you just sit out an alert or a response automatically. And the number of people who don't do that is appalling. Yeah. And he's sitting there going, well, I've not heard. Well, yeah, you just need to keep trying, but it's hard to say that to a 16-year-old.
So 10 minutes to go, guys. I've got the hardest question to ask you yet, but we've got a question that's coming from the audience. So have any of your companies or any of your clients introduced a head of remote working role? I ask this because the job of supervising everything a remote worker needs, from decent chairs and desks to smarter ways of staying in touch, is typically being done by the same managers on top of their job. So has anyone introduced that sort of role or thought about that sort of role? Have you come across it? Got blank faces coming back at me right now.
No, we've kind of allocated that role to our head of HR and quality and risk management. We haven't actually created a head of remote working role, but I can see that might become a thing. If in a year's time we've still got a lot of people working remotely, then I think that will become a job.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for CPL has been the same. It's been a kind of a hybrid situation. HRD, myself, really right across the board, everyone's had an input into this, and then we have data security committees and the like as well, and they've all played a part in this as well. So it's definitely a hybrid approach at the moment. But I can definitely see where there could be a role for an individual at some point.
Absolutely, so can I. So audience, if you do want to ask questions, you still can, but the toughest one of all, I think. So given the success of your businesses, what would be the single piece of advice you would give to anyone listening in today?
I think for me, I think we just spent the last hour talking about a range of topics, but certainly things like self-service, end-to-end, mobile-friendly, continuity. A lot of those are far easier or easily achievable with the right bit of kit. And I think, you know, we'll remember Nokia 3210s. Cracking fun, absolute game changer. But you wouldn't arm your recruitment consultants with the 3210 anymore, would you? You just wouldn't do it. Things move on, technology moves on, technology changes, and you just got to keep up with it. Just because we've always done it one way doesn't necessarily mean that that's the best way of doing it today. Technology advances quickly. So for me, my bit of advice is just embrace the change.
That's literally what I was going to say, what Jeremy said there, and I think we've touched on it today, but the fact that COVID has forced us to make a lot of changes very quickly has shown we can do it if we put our minds to it. And I think definitely end users have seen the advantage of it now, and I think we can continue in that mindset. And like Annette said earlier on, when we do go back to the office, not falling back into old habits, and continuing to embrace the change, because I think people realize now that it's for everyone's benefit that we do this.
I think the thing I would add to that is get really good connectivity and Wi-Fi connections. I think, you know, it goes without saying, doesn't it? But I would also add in, as well as embracing the change, I would say don't be afraid of things and don't assume. I think COVID's made a lot of people realise that, you know, you don't know what's around the corner, and you do need to just not be afraid of what's going to happen, because it's going to happen anyway. You've just got to deal with it. And if you've got a mindset, if you've got a growth mindset of dealing with things, then you'll get through whatever comes along. So I would say don't be afraid of what's going to happen.
I would say that technology is a fundamental part of recruitment. And sometimes I hear people say, that's not my job, I don't do technology, that's somebody else, or I'm not a techie. That is not an excuse that you can give in recruitment anymore. You need to embrace technology. It's part of your job. You need to educate yourself. You need to take responsibility for your own skills in using the technology and picking the right technology. You need to make sure you own the quality of the data that's in the systems, and also challenge and ask questions if it doesn't make sense. It's gone are the days when you can say that was somebody else's job. You've got to take it on board.
Yeah.
So I would say if you watch a group of 5-year-olds playing football, they all run after the ball. LinkedIn came along, everybody needed a LinkedIn recruiter license, and they all ran towards it. And I think if you've got every IT consultant in London running the same daily automated search on CV Library for new SAP CVs that have been registered, there's no differentiation. Everybody's just doing the same thing. So I think be careful of just rushing towards the new hot tech topic. Think about how it can work for your business. And if you're just doing the same as everybody else, then it's just about price. There's no differentiation.
Very good. Thank you, guys. That's really, really good. Good answers to what was a tough question, actually. So we've had one additional question just come in from the audience from Roddy Barrow, who's the MD of HR Go. Jeanette knows Roddy quite well, so she's smiling now. What's about to be asked? So, what additional technology have people introduced to manage staff working from home?
We've invested in a new tool internally, and it's almost like a Facebook feed, for want of a better word. So we've all seen Yammer and the likes of that kind of thing floating around. So we've invested in that in recent months as well. So that's helped to improve the communication channels across the group. And we've been utilizing the likes of Microsoft Teams for our CEO to do a monthly broadcast and so forth. So we found that was very important, and she does that generally every 4 to 5 weeks as a kind of just to kind of keep the company ethos and keep the motivation levels high.
Just following up.
We're using Teams. Sorry.
Oh, Jeanette, you were going to say the same thing. Teams. Yeah. Microsoft has been massive for us. You know, even the example of I've got 2 kids at university. They use Teams all the time now for things like lectures, and I think Teams has been we pushed it really hard just right from the get-go, and it's been a great way of facilitating not just this kind of thing, but chat and working on projects. It's a very powerful tool, so that's been really helpful.
Yeah, that's what we've pushed, and I think we've got some parts of our business that are having daily team calls with their teams. So I wouldn't say we've introduced any new technology to manage the productivity. We're just using the existing stuff we'd already got, but we're using it better.
We've used Power BI embedded in application across the business so that all of the staff can see activity levels and actually try and use that to keep them connected to the other members of their team during the day, and to help with the management of a remote workforce and of course Teams.
It has exploded, Teams, isn't it? It really has come from nowhere. So well, not from nowhere, but the use of it has just gone exponential. Guys, that brings us, I think, to the end of our session. That was really, really good. I enjoyed that. It's great discussion there, and it's great having the IT view, the operational view, and the FD view. You know, in fact, you all had quite common answers to the same things. So, which is a good thing for me, because I think that means operationally those different parts of the business are aligned in the thinking through the challenges we're going through right now, and also where we're going in the future. But if there's not, I'll just check, make sure there's nothing else that's coming in a second. There's not, there is. I think we'll sign off there. I'll say thank you very much, and I'll see you all again very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.